listening to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. This is Dr. Charles Laux, and this is episode 86. We're on the West Coast for episode 85 and 86. This episode features one of our amazing middle school folks, Miss Angela Harman. Angela is teaching in Utah and has an amazing resource and website, orchestraclassroom.com. I always want to say Orchestra Teacher. orchestraclassroom.com. And I wanted to welcome Angela to the podcast. Angela, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
It is so cool. And I know we've run into each other a few times here and there and talked a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your background. And I know that you're kind of that middle school beginner, like fantastic specialist. And we're all interested to hear about all the amazing things that you do, and so creative. And I just you're like a recruiting specialist too. I mean, you just keep getting more and more kids, and you just do all these amazing things. So tell us a little bit about your background and all the things you've done so far.
Okay. Well, I am a product of a school orchestra program. I grew up in Michigan, and I joined orchestra because my friend wanted to play violin. I was going to do the saxophone.
You made a good decision.
Outvoted. Well, I'm so glad that I chose the violin at the time. And, I talk about this when I do presentations about recruiting, retention, what makes people stay. And I joined because my friend wanted to do it. And she was a big influence on me because she had already heard the violin before, and I really hardly knew what one was,
wow. Okay.
Honestly. And then once I got into it, her and I were very competitive with each other.
Well, that fuels it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it totally did.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where sometimes we were frenemies, because we're so competitive with each other. Well, eventually she moved away, and obviously I didn't stay because my friend was doing it, but I stayed because I had developed the passion for progressing and growing and thriving in music.
Yeah.
So that was my background starting there. I went ahead and switched to viola in 9th grade.
Okay.
So my journey just started there. So I became one of the weird viola people,
well,
which fit my person.
I've had a lot of people convert to viola from violin, and it's almost sometimes it's a personality thing, and sometimes it's like they just really don't like the E string. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, for me, I just loved the tone of the viola, and it was a great decision for me. So I went to college to be an orchestra teacher, which something I swore I would never do, by the way, because I remember watching my orchestra teacher throughout my years. I had the same teacher throughout all of my years in school, and I'd watch him do what he does. I'm like, I would never do that. That is not for me. But
was it because you didn't you weren't a fan of what they're doing, or just like, I'm just too cool for that, I'm not going to do orchestra?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
He seems so busy.
Okay.
And I just felt like,
and now look at
so
you.
much to deal with. I know.
Right. We got to be busy.
Seriously. I don't know what it was. I was like, I don't want to have to teach all these people stuff. I didn't know I was a teacher back then. Well, I really didn't like school either. Yeah, I wasn't one of those students that was like, oh, I just love school. I wasn't one of those kids. Like, no. I enjoy sitting. I still don't enjoy sitting in classes. So, maybe that was part of it as well. Anyway, as soon as I went to my first classroom, I remember taking a music ed class, and I was in a choir. We got to visit a class and teach for 5 minutes. I got to teach a little choir class. And as soon as I'd done that, I was like, wow, like, this is my life.
That's the hook.
I knew that was for me. It was forever. So I've been doing it ever since. I taught for a few years, and then I had about a 9-year break. I think I taught 3 years, 9-year breaks. I have 5 kids. And then I came back in 2012, and I've been at it ever since.
Holy cow. So you took 9 years off. How was that? I'm sure there's a bunch of teachers out there. They're like, maybe I should take a year off, or 2 years off, or 5 years off, or 9 years off. How was that coming back after, you're just kind of getting started? 3 years. I always say, you really don't know how to teach until you've taught for 5 years, right? But so how was that coming back though after 3 years? You have some experience, and then you take all the time off. Did a lot of things change, or did your perspective change because you've been raising kids and doing all that?
Yeah, I think I came back as a better teacher.
Yeah.
Honestly, for a lot of reasons. First of all, I had experience with my own kids. And there's something about developing that tenderheartedness towards kids that helped me with that. And then I had also grown a lot because even though I wasn't teaching, my heart was still in music. Yeah. So I was learning about the Suzuki method, and I was getting certified to teach the Suzuki method, and ran a Suzuki studio for many, many years. And great. I was still doing like little before school orchestra stuff like twice a week.
So you were not teaching. You were busy mom with 5 kids and still doing these things.
Yeah, I was still doing it where I can do it, like I was still keeping my foot in there because I couldn't just stop. But honestly, I never, ever thought I would teach school again. Mm-hmm. Like I even threw away all the worksheets and things I created the first few years. I threw them in the trash because I was like, oh, I'm never going to use these again.
Yeah, that's so now it is. And you have a lot of great worksheets and books and materials and everything. I know that you have for sale and on your website. So tell us about some of that, and then we can maybe get into your program a little bit too and some of your teaching strategies. But tell us about some of your resources that you have available, because I know there's a lot of people that we use the mainstream books and different things, but some of the best things that I found and even some things that I developed, I feel like these are way better than some of the materials that I'm able to purchase, commercially, I guess.
Well, exactly. Well, there's no way I can find a book. I don't think there's anywhere we can have anyone sell a book that really covers 180 days of instruction.
That's true.
What we're really doing with kids all the time. So I still use some books out there, but I found that I was supplementing a ton. And a lot of times I would create things because there were items that I wished I had in my class that just weren't out there yet.
Yeah.
And I started to make those for myself. And if I saw them being super successful with my own students, well, that makes me super excited.
Right.
And there's nothing more satisfying than sharing that with other people, because you find something that works.
I think that's what drives both of us, is that ability to create some things and share that. And then when people see you and they go, oh, I use this, or I love what you did with that. It's like, okay, the work was all worth it, and it makes me feel good that it's just kind of getting to more people than just my own kids. So absolutely, that's great. It's a great feeling.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Every summer I have a book. I always think one summer I'm going to not think of a book to write. But every summer hits and I'm like, all right, here's my next book.
Wow.
And I tend to create a resource. I give myself about 3 to 4 weeks to finish because I don't have a ton of extra time to create. Some of these things I create are like tons and tons of pages. Like my latest thing, I wrote a book called Empowered Note Reading because I was like note reading guru, like do note reading worksheets, and I was giving bell work because my principal likes that anyway.
Okay, so perfect.
From class, kids do their little note reading activity, and my kids can do some great note reading worksheets forever. And I had creative ones, and it was great. But then I realized, why are some kids still not reading notes in class? So I set out to address that issue, and it finally occurred to me, like, they can do all the worksheets they want, and on paper they can read notes, but until they practice reading notes consistently all the time, they're still not going to read them.
And it's about speed. It's about getting that repetition and speed and
so this book is all about that. And I've already seen such a big difference with my beginners. Like they're just eating through it, and they're motivated, and it doesn't feel like torture, and there's not tons of tedious worksheets to grade.
Right. Yeah, that's so fun. Yeah. Every time you make a worksheet, you're just like, oh, this is great, but then I got to grade it.
I'm lucky. I've hired somebody that does all my grading. So.
Oh, wow.
Even spoiled that way.
Well, you're spoiled, but you have like probably 800,000 kids in your classroom too, right? You have.
No, only 365.
Oh, that's all? Okay. Is it just you and this helper person then?
It's just me, and then I have a helper that comes in 2 hours a day that does all the grading.
But that's still a lot of kids by yourself. Holy cow. Wow. Has there ever been talk in your school about getting more help, or is that just not a thing?
That's a touchy thing to bring up in the orchestra world, I think, because any other teacher and you have the FTE with that many kids, they're like, absolutely, they're going to hire someone else. But when it's an orchestra position, they're like, all right, maybe we should cap your numbers. And
no.
my heart doesn't want to ever be like, sorry, child, you cannot participate in my class, even though you really want to. I have a hard time capping it like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, the average teacher, at least in the high school where I'm at, is probably 150 kids, 160, maybe 170 tops, over, 5 classes, whatever. And when you have that many, that formula, like, okay, you're 2 FTEs, like easy for a regular teacher.
Yeah,
and so they're like they're getting a great bang for the buck with the number of kids that you're taking in a classroom every day. So that's hard. And I know there are teachers out there. I mean, my feeder's one of them. She has 240, which is not as many as you have, but they won't. There's no assistant there, and a lot of the other schools with the similar numbers do have them, or band programs with similar numbers do have them, and then it's like, why is that? So yeah, that's a challenge, but seems like you're doing great with it. I mean, I know it's a ton of work and, probably some stress that goes along with that. What are some of the strategies you use to handle such big classes? Like how large are your classes?
My largest is 73. My average is around, 55 or 60.
Okay.
The strategy, I guess I've gotten used to larger sizes. Yeah. So if I have anything under 50, that will seem a little bit small to me because
are you on an extended day? Do you teach an extra class that other teachers don't teach?
That's one reason why my classes are bigger, because I've actually sold my prep period to mentor new teachers in the school.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. For mentoring, not for teaching more of your own students.
Right. So I do mentoring because that seemed more relaxing to me than having a whole nother class period with no break, because I'm on my feet. I don't teach. None of us teach sitting down, right?
Right. No.
I mean, we're walking around the whole entire time. And even though I'm mentoring new teachers during that break, at least, I might sit down for a second.
There you go.
So that seems more relaxing. Next year, I might, though, make my classes smaller, because I do find that if they're above 65-ish, it is a little bit less fun for me.
Right. Yeah, and you are there not to get paid, but to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I want to have fun. I don't want there to be a class that comes and I'm like, it's this class again.
This class again.
I don't like that.
That's awesome. So, what are some of the things that you do to be able to manage those big classes? I mean, there's got to be organizational things and strategies you use to keep 73 kids quiet.
Well, I've definitely learned a lot. Like this year it was my biggest class I've had so far. And I usually have a paper or something for them to pick up on the way in. And the very first day of school, I just remember this line all down the hallway, waiting for every kid one at a time to just grab their one little paper. So I quickly had to make adjustments. I can't expect kids to take something on the way in. There's just no time for that. Yeah. So that I have a different procedure for passing things out. To keep them all quiet, we have procedures for that too. I learned that I can't just let them all come in and take their seats without me greeting them at the door and reminding them that we're quiet when we set up, because 73 kids coming in, noisy, and traffic jams, that can get crazy, and then we're all frazzled before class even starts.
And middle school, don't forget, it's also middle school.
Absolutely.
It's also middle school.
Yeah, so I'm still learning. I'm making adjustments still. And today, some kid came in and he was like, let me guess, set up quietly and put your instruments down when you're in tune. And I was like, how did you know? He's like, you say that every single day.
Well, I mean, it seems like it's working though, right? I mean,
well, today I was like, maybe I want to find out what happens if I don't say it. So I put tape over over my mouth. And I just stood there and I didn't say a word, because it's so tempting for me to remind him all the time. I'm like, well, what will happen if I just don't say anything? So I just stood there, and all the kids walk in and they just look at me like, what is going on today? And then pretty soon they caught on, and they were just not talking, and they were just confused, like, what's going on? And some kids, pointed at the tape and wanted to have some too. Pretty soon we're having a tape party. Now it's middle school. It was voluntary. I have pictures. It was really hilarious, but we got a ton done today.
Yeah, that's great. That is so great. And then how many classes do you teach a day?
I teach 6 a day.
6 a day. Okay. And then you mentor during your lunch? Is it lunch?
I have one free period where I mentor.
Wow. And so how do you manage to get all of, that administrative work done? This is just after hours, right?
I do all of my prep work at home.
Yeah.
I truly do.
Yeah.
But I'm also one of those people that I'm tired. I don't like doing it at school. So like at the end of the day, I am out because I'm spent, and I do get to school probably a half hour early than most people. So I prep in the morning, I get everything ready. And then once school is over, the bell rings, like I'm out done. Almost. Yeah. As the kids, like, get me out of here. I have to go home now. Yeah. And then after I've had a little bit of time at home, I actually don't mind chilling, sitting at my desk, starting a show or whatever, relaxing, and then making, that's why I get to get creative and make my next plans. So
yeah, wow, that's fantastic. You have a ton of like really amazing just ideas that you put up, and I know you're using social media to kind of to show some of the things that you do. Could you tell us maybe a couple of the more recent maybe social media posts that you've used, like talk about, I don't know, there's all these, just every time I go on, it's like, I never thought about that. I never thought of this. I never thought I could do it that way. And obviously I teach high school all the time, so some of those things won't work for me, but can you tell us maybe about a few of your like super creative ideas? Yeah.
Well, a few of them this school year. Well, of course, we had the new year, and I was like, how do we jump in? Even me as a teacher, I was like, like it was hitting me, like going back to that busy routine again. It was hitting me. Oh, yeah. So New Year's Eve, I walked in to see what my teenagers were doing. I have 2 teenage daughters, and they were making these little vision boards of what they wanted for this coming year. And I saw them doing that, and I thought, I need to have my students do this. And I created this little activity for my students to do that with prompts so that it was guided, and you're not just going to write, I want a new car. I didn't want it to be lay out there. I wanted it to be relevant to what we were doing in the orchestra. And those came in, and it was pretty interesting what they wrote. Like, I learned a lot about my students, and it even softened my heart to some of the ones that struggled a bit. And then I read what they wrote on their paper. I was like, wow, I need to be there for them still. Like, we should never be giving up on these kids, because they have these dreams and this vision for who they want to be. And I need to help them get there. But while I was doing this with my students, I thought, wait a second, do my students know what vision I have for them?
Oh,
I was thinking, I don't know if I've ever told my students what I'm going for. Why do I do this every day?
Yeah.
Why do I structure my rehearsals like this? Why do we play the same things over and over? Like, what am I after? So I made a little vision board about what I want for my students and presented that to them. And it was so cool just to see the look on their faces while I was doing that for them. And just the tone of the rehearsal after they had that connection of, oh, this is what she's after. Like, it bonded us to each other because we both did this activity together and we shared with each other. And that was really good. And then we went right into playing with vision. So I created these slides. And then instead of me reminding them, sit up tall, fix your wrist, use the tips of your fingers, land on your tapes. I just said, students who have this vision of superior tone, they sit like, and I didn't even finish. And my whole class is just like,
boom. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Their bow arms are like, and I don't finish. They just do their bow. I said, their intonation is like, and I don't have to even say, because the thing about every single student is they want to be good. Every kid wants to be good.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes the right person, and it takes the right strategies and the right just fit to make them realize that, but it also to make them realize that they can do it. It seems like you've got that skill, that talent, that love, that desire, and they see it in you, and then they want to be that person. They want to be, they want to be what you want them to be. So,
yeah. And I think that fuels me back as a teacher. And then to watch them put their energy and their passion into their own playing, that it reflects back on each other. We're reflecting that mood or that vibe in rehearsals in each other. And it's motivating for everybody.
Yeah. So where do you see, where do you see your program going, or what are some of the challenges that you see coming forward? Whether it's, just obviously you can't have 500 kids, but you can't have the whole school in orchestra. But
I don't think it would ever go there.
Yeah.
My challenge is I do think I could possibly get very, very slightly bigger, but I think I am going to drop the mentoring thing I have next year. I'll probably add that other class period if I need to.
Yeah.
I'll probably do that. I really don't mind having the larger classes. My biggest challenge is I know my assistant who does come 2 hours a day and help me with all the grading. She's amazing. She is going to be leaving. She's going off to college and some things.
Yeah.
So I was really sad about that. So trying to find a replacement there, that's difficult.
Right. And someone who obviously she knows music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she can grade and then just has that connection with you. It is challenging to find.
Right.
So
and in Utah, fees, there's legislature's messed with our school fees. And so, funding could start being an issue for me in the future, but we're hoping that's going to turn out okay.
I think you're the best deal that any school has when you have 350 plus kids. I mean, they're getting a lot of contact time for one teacher's salary. And I forget who it was. I think it was Benham who would go around and do these economic presentations to these school boards that if you cut music, it's going to cost you more down the road because it's not necessarily the instruments, but it's that personnel that the band directors and orchestra directors want 800 kids and everybody else wants fewer kids. We want smaller classes. Everybody else, we want bigger classes, So, yeah.
So I can't ever complain about my bigger class, really.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so great. And then, let's see. You've been at your school for you said you said you were at a kind of a new school. How many years?
Yeah, I'm at a new school. This is my 4th year at a new school that just opened 4 years.
Like it's a brand new school.
A brand new school.
Since dirt. Yeah, I opened a new school my second year teaching in Las Vegas, and we were able to go to the construction site and get these little vials of dirt. So we were like, I've been a navigator since dirt. That was always our thing, since we opened the school. But that was one of the most difficult things, but also one of the most exciting things. New everything's new. You get new room and new instruments, and
so. It's a huge blessing. Yeah, really, because I was always struggling for inventory and equipment before. And because I got to open a new school and have some say as to how many instruments I needed, I was able to get a really good footing in. I was still short because I didn't know my program would grow quite as quickly as it did. But I'm still trying to catch up every year when I get my numbers. But I have a good inventory that's helped me a lot.
What's the secret to great recruiting? I know that you do, and I'll put a plug in for you. You do PD for school districts and MEAs and ASTA and all the big things on this topic. It's kind of your thing. So tell us what. And I know that you were part of the book that Sandy Goldie put together, the middle school.
Yeah,
book.
It's Angela Harman put it together.
Angela,
it was Music Teacher's Guide.
Oh, the Music Teacher's Guide book. Yes. So fantastic. Okay. Yeah. And so, tell us some of your secrets. Are you willing to share some of your secrets?
Sure. Well, I don't know if my secrets are that huge. I think my secret is my biggest thing in my presentations is that everything we do is recruiting and retention.
Right.
To me, I don't think it's a one-time event. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a one-time show that I do, but really I've been working on recruiting this whole time, this entire time. Every time I have a rehearsal, I'm working on retention or recruiting. So people talk, parents talk, students talk. So there are already chunks of students and parents around who already are going to be in my class. I mean, they're already going to sign up because they've heard about it. Every time I have a concert, if I do my concerts the right way and they're amazing and inspiring and fun and people want to come to those, that's part of my recruiting strategy as well. It's everything that I do. But I do a big show as well. That's a ton of fun.
Sure.
And I have it down to a science, my little recruiting show that I do. And we have costumes and props and gimmicks and we laugh and it's fun and we throw candy and we have prizes. And we even spent an hour after school yesterday. We took fortunes out of fortune cookies with little paper clips and we put fortunes inside them, new ones that say things like, "You belong in orchestra."
Wow. You were able to pull the old ones out without breaking the cookies apart?
Well, we break a lot. I'm not going to lie, but they love it because they eat the broken ones.
Right, for sure. That's tasty. I love fortune cookies. Wonderful.
So I do some gimmicky things, and I was thinking maybe next year I don't have to do this fortune cookie thing. But the thing is it's kind of a little theme where they'll remember that I gave them this fortune cookie, and then a whole bunch are going to sign up for my class. And then when they meet me one-on-one for the first time at the open house at the start of next school year, I give them a little eraser that's a fortune cookie. And there's another fortune in there that's going to say the orchestra is going to become your favorite class.
Wow.
Or I'll say Mrs. Harman is going to be you're going to be Miss Harman's favorite. Or I'll just say all sorts of little things in there, and they never forget these.
No.
Like they do not forget, and they save their little fortunes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And then so I don't know how many students are at your school.
There's about 1,100.
So you have over a third. And you know the statistic I've always heard about is that if you have over 10% of your school population, then you're doing a good job. But you have 30. Yeah. You have over 30%. Are the rest of them in band and chorus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, band, choir, and drama.
Sure. Oh, and drama. Okay. And are your numbers close to each other? Or are you far beyond them as far as?
Mine is the largest program. I mean, except for it's hard to tell with drama. There's tons of kids in drama and probably choir because those are half your classes.
Okay. So, but they're with you all year. Got it.
At one time, having the students all year.
Amazing.
Good.
Well, this is I'm always inspired to see some of the work that you're doing, and I again put a plug in for you. I know you're available to do some PD work for school districts or MEAs or whatever. So definitely check out her website. It's orchestraclassroom.com, and follow her. You have the social media. You have Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely make sure you're following Angela. Everybody has a lot to learn, and just amazing things and amazing resources. And congratulations on just having such a successful program, and all those kids that just are like hungry to be with you all the time and be a part of what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. But I appreciate you being on the podcast, Angela, and it's my pleasure to have you here, and hope to see you. Are you going to be at ASTA this year?
I will. I'm presenting a session about overcoming burnout.
And what a person to be able to do that, teaching 6 classes a day, you know, you know. And I, like you said, I just like to come home and chill. Like, yeah, you deserve that.
Yeah.
You deserve that. So,
yeah.
So, well, thank you again. And wrapping up, this is our episode number 86. And thank you, Angela, for being here. And we will see everybody on the Orchestra Teacher Podcast next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in. For resources and more information, visit orchestrateacher.net.